most obvious might be for cosmetic reasons. People might have a very large mole. They might have some sun-damaged skin that has started to redden and get dry and flaky and crusty over time, which could be potentially what we call precancerous lesion, or perhaps it's already moving into that realm of a carcinoma or a cancerous lesion. So of course you'd want to get rid of those to improve the appearance. Why is that important? Because having a healthy appearance is that affects the psychological body. So so I don't discount cosmetics. Some patients will oftentimes come to see me, and it's almost like they feel a little self-conscious that maybe they are somehow what's the word I'm looking for? That somehow they're not entitled to care about their appearance, you know what I mean? Oh, that perhaps they're self-absorbed by wanting to get rid of that lesion. And no, I don't buy that at all. I think that it's really justified, because it really does, and it's important to feel good about the way you look, because that affects your well-being. And the emotional body, the mind, I mean, that has as big an impact, on our health as anything that's happening physically.
I firmly believe disease begins in consciousness, the way we're thinking and feeling about things.
Yeah.
So the more that we can feel healthy and good about who we are, and whether it be our external appearance or our internal, that's crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be the first reason, and so we want to take care of it in that, to help someone out, to really improve just their overall psychological well-being. Next would be and I already kind of hinted at this, if the lesion could potentially become dangerous. Does that lesion have the potential to become skin cancer over time? And so obviously if that's the case, well, we want to get rid of it. And one of the beauties of this treatment that Dr. T developed is that we can treat all over the body, not just on the epithelial or the outer skin cells, but also in the mucosal membranes as well. So it's safe to treat, inside the mouth, on the eyelid, inside the eyelid even. I've removed lesions. I've removed lesions from inside the eyelid. Now, if you'll notice, these are areas where there isn't a surgical option.
Right.
And even if you get a skin tag growing on your eyelid, which is very common, there isn't a surgical option for that, because the skin isn't thick enough to cut it out.
Right.
And so this gives us a great alternative, a very effective alternative, where we could treat lesions in really sensitive spots. And so the second reason, the first we'd said for the cosmetic, the second is that for safety. Obviously for health, we want to make sure and treat anything that could potentially be dangerous. Now the third reason is that any abnormality of the skin is going to create a certain amount of what we call neurologic irritation. And many of the listeners have probably experienced it. You might have a skin tag, you might have a mole somewhere, and over time your clothes rubs on that spot. And that can irritate you, and maybe it's a spot that you start itching, and it's over time, and maybe it's like, you itch it off, and it gets a little bit bloody and a scab forms, and then it goes through the cycle. Well, that mechanical irritation, so again, think of this idea of the skin and the nervous system as one. That's stimulus into the nervous system, and I like to liken it to white noise.
Yeah.
It's white noise. It's not a healthy stimulus. It's not doing anything positive. It's just white noise. It's just kind of over stimulus. And so in the ideal state is the skin is smooth and unblemished, and that's when it's most receptive to this magical world that we live in, and to really doing its job of being the sensory organ that forms the interface between us and the outer world. So by getting rid of these lesions that are like pockets of white noise, creating unnecessary neurological irritation, stimulation, that's a way of just calming down the nervous system, bringing down just kind of the overall tone of the nervous system, which is a good thing.
Yes.
Because in this world we live in, we are subject to stress on so many different levels, obviously. So any opportunity we have to bring down the overall tonus of stress is going to be beneficial for our health.